Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Artemis. I'm a League of Legends esportcaster, and yeah, also I'm active as a Riot community volunteer, doing some moderation stuff on the official DACH servers for League of Legends and Valorant on Discord. And yeah, I'm nice to meet you all, and happy to be here. So first I started with esports like almost 7 years ago, I think, in school, when some of my school friends started with League of Legends, and I just wanted to join and joined on some LAN parties, and then over the time I just really grew into it. And yeah, especially in the last year in 2022, it was really rough for me, but the esport, especially casting, kind of got me out of the dark dark times, as I call them, and really helped me to get back up on my feet and just find fun again in what I'm doing.
Okay, nice. Then let's move on with Leon, Last Angel.
All right. Yeah. So my name is Leon, aka Last Angel. I've been into esports for about 8 years, I think. Um, I made it into esport in 2015. First of all, just as a small caster for ESL Cup team back in back in the days when we still had ESL competition in League of Legends. But then started to get into coaching. Did that for like 6 years in League of Legends as a coach, as analyst, as manager as well. Like I had multiple roles in that several years. And then back in 2020, I started over as a mentor coach. And yeah, that's what I'm still doing right now.
Why why is esport special for you?
I'd say that esport is special for me because it's kind of very simple to connect to other people. And I think esport is something like a lot of people can do, right? Basically, I mean, yes, you have to like have a PC and stuff, but it's open to basically every person out of age, gender. It doesn't really matter, or at least it shouldn't matter. But I think that's what we're going to talk about today as well, right? So, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So then let's move on to Get Close to Racing. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm Wolf. I'm the head of esports at Get Closer Racing. Get Closer Racing is a company in virtual motorsport, sim racing. It's also called. So it's basically a niche of yeah. When you look at esports in the bigger picture, but a niche that is becoming bigger. We have major players now on the field with Porsche pumping money into the industry and wanting to make virtual motorsports bigger. And Get Closer Racing has a lot of stuff. We're doing a lot of stuff. So we're producing hardware for sim racing. We're doing events. We have our own race room at the Dortmund airport. But we also have two teams on two different simulations. That is Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is not only on PC but also on console. And then iRacing, that's a PC exclusive. And I basically manage these two teams, and the ACC team is in top world class. In the World Cup, we finished P6, so we are right up there with Williams eSport and BMW and AMG Mercedes. So yeah, that's my job.
Okay. Um, as far as I remember, you're also doing real life racing yourself, right?
Um, yes, because you know virtual motorsport is in terms of simulation and what the simulators can do and the data that comes out of the telemetry that comes out of the simulations is so close to the real thing that the transition from virtual to real is real easy, or the other way around. A lot of real life racers do virtual motorsport as well. Max Verstappen is often racing on iRacing and stuff like that. So I myself, yeah, I'm on track. I only live 40 minutes from Nürburgring, and I sometimes go on track there. I just ordered a new track tool, as we call it. So my new car is going to be due in June, and yeah, it's a little racing rocket, and I'm looking forward to doing some laps there. But that's all hobby stuff, basically. Now, with Get Closer Racing, it's business. That is the real thing. That's where we're talking about six figures investments and stuff like that.
So basically, you are the other part of us where a lot of money is already involved.
Yes,
You can say.
yes, a lot of money.
What made it special for you to be part of the esports world, other than racing yourself in real life and getting those close telemetric numbers?
It's different things. It's on the one hand, as you can see, I'm a little older, yeah, so I'm 50 years old, but I still consider myself being a digital native because at the age of 15, I built my first PC myself. So I'm in the whole field for 35 years. That was way before we were talking about the internet. There was nothing like that. You were going online with modems with 2,400 bits per second. That was all that you got, and you were waiting for your downloads for 30 minutes up to several hours to download a picture from a bulletin board system and stuff like that. So early days. And so computer affinity was always there. Not so much in gaming. I was for several hacker and cracker groups. I was the sounder. That's what it was called because they were doing demos, and I was doing basically the music for these hacker group demos. I was never too much into gaming because I'm a very competitive person, and I I don't know, just playing for yourself before everything became connected, that was just, not a huge challenge. But as soon as it was possible to form teams and game as a group, the fascination started. And so to me, that is a major factor, the being together, the reaching a common goal, getting people involved and finding out who's actually burning for it and whom you can do it with and who's not.
Yeah.
So and that's also a huge thing, just the selection process, the team building, and doing that over years, and then getting from garage level all the way into world class. That is just fascinating.
Sounds amazing. But yeah, I remember those times as well. I mean, I had my first computer when I was 9. Now I'm
Mm.
41. The Commodore 64.
Mhm.
And when you talked about like those weird noises with the modems, I
Yeah.
remember
Doo-doo.
when I had the modem and then it moved to ISDN. I called telecom like my modem is broken. It doesn't make sounds.
Yeah.
So because you were so used to the sound back in time,
And
always.
ISDN was a major step. I remember being at the CeBIT in Hanover, and we were super hyped because somebody was downloading a megabyte from Munich. A mega. We were like, dude, a megabyte. Who needs that much data, right?
Yeah, and then nowadays, like we are going around with 100k, 100 mbits, or even fiber, if accessible in Germany at some point.
Right.
Yeah, cool. It's amazing to have like such a wide field of esports here, and so I'm part of the esports world also for as a coach for 6 years. I had some breaks for about 2 years, and I had my own small community and such things. And what always bothered me back in time, and also still now, and I think with COVID things got even more worse, is the toxicity and the harassment going on in the games, and as well then outside of the game, because people don't want to get banned in League of Legends or in other games, and then they start banting each other on Twitter, on Instagram, or whatever kind of platform. How do you guys feel about it?
Yeah, so basically, there's definitely a high, rate of toxicity, also in League of Legends, but also in other games, CS:GO, especially. For example, if you are in the voice chat in like Valorant or CS and have a female-sounding voice, then there's like a 99% chance there will be someone in the lobby just making a stupid comment on, that you're female or something like this. And yeah, also in game, there is a high rate of toxicity, and also on some servers. So there are so many community servers where people go online as soon as, like, for example, the league servers are down and are just being toxic in the chat and trolling around, just like a hobby or something. And yeah, I also sometimes feel like the in-game report system does not work so good, even though they upscaled it a bit, but it's still like not completely safe to say that there is no toxicity at all.
Any other opinion?
I mean, I can totally agree on that. I think it's quite easy to hide behind like the avatar of your like in-game name and stuff. I mean, okay, if you're like professional player, it might be different, but in the like amateur scene and community scene, it's kind of a thing that toxic behavior doesn't get punished usually. At least that's what I kind of made as a experience. And you can basically do whatever you want and you're not getting punished for it. So I think that's quite a difficult thing to have in the scene right now. And I think throughout the years it didn't really get better, at least not much. I think it even started to get worse with like the past 2, 3, 4 years. As you said, like Corona was a bit of a game changer in that terms. So yeah, I think this is definitely a big problem.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
there's sorry.
yeah, I was wanted to go with to you because
Yeah.
in I mean we three are all like League of Legends, some Counter Strike,
Hmm.
Valorant stuff,
Mm.
and with the research that I did, it was mostly those games like shooter, MOBA, stuff like that. Even StarCraft was part of it, which was kind of surprising, to be honest. But okay. But I barely hear anything about the racing scene.
Mm,
Can you give us some insights over there?
yeah. I mean, Corona is certainly a huge factor. I mean, I think we all saw that the numbers of players just went up during Corona times. People were at home. They gravitated towards online activity, towards gaming, and naturally also towards virtual motorsports. So just by the sheer numbers that went up, and and also there was an influx of into the racing scene of a younger group that we did not have in that strength before, because the kids were at home, right? So and then, I mean, if you have a PlayStation or just a normal configured PC, you can just go and race a little. And so on the one hand, you had the influx of youth that is in their puberty, or not as experienced, not as mature maybe, and just you know i- says something quicker than they think oftentimes. Not that's exclusive to young people, but it's, we all been young, right? So that's one thing that we saw. But also, I think the pressure that was on people during Corona times, and not being able to do everything you wanted, wearing a mask, having to stay at home. Some people were losing their jobs, some couldn't go to work. So all that pressure had to be vented somewhere. And then racing, of course, is also a sport that is where you can, you know, just driving aggressively, you can act out, right? And then, with your physical activity. So, I have right here in front of me, I have my steering wheel. I'm sitting in my rig here. So now with the you yeah, here we go. you know, just using your wheel and driving, and the forces that you experience in driving are pretty um, damn on what you experience on a racetrack. So it is a workout. And with the physical activity, that also activates basically the possibility to further act out and be vocal and vent your frustration. Someone hits you with their car, and then all the cussing starts and everything. So yes, it is a problem, and all these simulations are trying to get a grip on that so you can report that. And I can say I'm mostly on iRacing. I can say that if it goes past a certain threshold, people will be banned for a period of time. And if they are repeat offenders, we've had cases that people are permabanned. Like, you can never race again. Thank you very much. Which is especially bitter because you buy content for hundreds of euros and dollars, and you can never access it again. So, um, yes, there is toxicity, not towards gender. I have not experienced that. We like when we have more female races because it is so rare.
Hmm.
And we always say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you can race, you can race, right?
Yeah.
There's no borders here. So if you're a talent, if you're investing the time, if you want to do it, go do it. It's awesome. But I think it is really in these times now, with the Russian-Ukraine war going on, it is that pressure on people that, life is strange and hard right now, and they're looking for a place to vent, and then that's just an easy way to do it.
Yeah, kind of makes sense. I mean, for me, I always try to, like, when I'm coaching and working with the team, I always try to make sure that they are mentally as stable as possible. But yeah, I mean, it it's just like in front of the screen, so I'm not working person to person directly with them, and of course things can go wrong, and we are all human, so no one. I think when people say they are tilt free and they don't, yeah, they are not toxic at all, it's like, yeah, okay, you are lying. I mean, we all have it in us, and sometimes it's just like, and what I realized also, like when I'm playing myself, is that a lot of people don't even know that they are toxic. it's just, I mean, it doesn't need to be that you say something like, "Hey, I'm gonna your mother," and those kind of things. No, there were like very little things that can be considered already as toxic, and this is in our days. What I realized is that quite often people say like, "Oh, if you do this, it's gay," and I'm like, what? Like, first of all, it doesn't make sense. And then I mostly just answer like, anything wrong with being gay? And then they stop texting most of the time, which is nice. But why the fuck do you have to start with this kind of things? Like, this is, everyone should know that we are all equal and we are all gamers and we're there to have fun, to compete and challenge ourselves and be part of something greater and bigger, which is growing and growing and growing. And then, on the other hand, it really gets upset if you report things and where it says like, nothing we can do. Like that wasn't that toxic as you think it was. It's like, okay, it's really, yeah. I don't know. Um, I gave you guys some shouts if you have access to them. Otherwise I can. No, 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 not this one. Let me quick send you guys the link again.
By the way, you did mention this kind of thing that there's like a screen when it comes to working together in interpretation, right? So this is also what I get like told by my mentors, that it can be a very difficult thing to be on the same terms if you have this kind of filter between, because especially like, okay, I mean, we for example right now we have the camera and the stream, but I don't know. In my experience, often you just are in Discord and you're just talking, right? It's just voice. Like you don't get to read the mimic and these kind of things. So it's very easy to have a misconception and like misunderstandings between the players, or between players and coach in the interaction with the people.
Yeah, but I also think that sometimes it like being on Discord or even not being in the voice at all. Like for example, in League of Legends, you are not in the same voice chat. The yeah, people are more likely to be negative because they don't know who is on the other side, so they actually don't care so much. Because I don't know if you remember the meme that was around like 2 years ago on the internet with the two dogs standing on one side of the fence and the other one on the other side, and were barking at each other. And as soon as the fence was removed, they just stopped. And I think it's the same with esports. Like as soon as you're not in real life or anonymous, you just tend to be more toxic, because you like never learned not to be. When I joined the esports scene in my younger times in school, it was like seventh grade or something like this. It was, for example, completely normal to be toxic because everyone around was doing it. So when I first joined the esports, I thought it is normal, and only later in the days I learned no, it's not normal to like be negative about everything, to tell your enemy to uninstall a game or something because they're bad. It's just like also dependent on the group you're playing with, and if you start in a bad group, then it just keeps going on, and it's very difficult to get out of there.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. I mean, we have it before about like tryouts and these kind of things at the beginning of the talk, right?
Mhm.
So for me, I made the experience that tryouting was kind of like the best phase of the team environment to have for me, um, because I just got to know many great people in such a short amount of time. I got to learn from them and these kind of things, and um, it was kind of easier to have like positive emotions about these kind of times, although it was quite rough. Like for example, putting like I don't know 80 people into a short amount of tryouts, like 3 weeks and something, and then having to get like 2 or 3 teams out of it, right? But for me, this was basically just the most fun time of being together in a team. And I think it's just helping to getting to know other people, like the first time, and just being open to learn something from them, like being this kind of student and learner in your mindset is a very great thing to have, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I agree on that. Um, Wolf, can you tell us a bit about the tryout process in racing? How does it work for you guys?
Um, Trial, you mean just how do we how do we select people we want to have on the team or
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
I mean, since it's
Um,
mostly like just a single person that is driving, I guess. So it's
um,
not like that you have to work very close with other people.
oh yeah,
Uh,
but you do. Oh, you do. Um, the thing is, working closely with other people. Number one, there's the things when you drive in leagues together, you have to work closely, and the second thing is the major events. You often have 12 and 24-hour races, so you have racing teams of 4, 5 people doing these races together, and they have to develop the setups together and everything. So it is, I mean, for my teams, it is the most important thing for me is not to have uh, the fastest guys, but they have to work together. They have to function as a team. That is the one thing I'm always looking at. And the one example I always give is when Germany won the soccer world championship, they did that not because they played the best soccer, but because at that point in time they were the best team. Everybody was running for the other. Everybody was trying to compensate for any weakness that he could spot in another player on the field. And that is what makes us function. And that is my selection process as well. What I do is the wonderful thing is in simulations you do have ratings. So every driver has their rating. That's the first thing you look at is like, okay, he has 4,300 rating, fine. So an advanced driver should be capable of doing this and that, knows the cars, knows the tracks. Okay, let's go, let's try this out. And then I usually um, I just I talk to them personally, and and then I say, okay, let's try this out for a few months. And then during this time, I watch how they integrate into the structures that we have. How do they collaborate, communicate with the others? How do they communicate with me? Then, of course, I do have for the ACC team, I have a team manager who reports back to me. The iRacing team I manage myself right now. So all this, how does it work together? How's the chemistry,
mhm.
right? And then, of course, I look at results. I look at how active is the racer. Do I see progress? Do I see the level that was basically promised by the rating? And yeah, then after some months time, we sit together and talk, and then I also have like some guys in the team that have been there for 3 years and know the whole full history. And I talked to them before that. What's your impression? What's your impression? And then we sit down and I say, yeah, that or that. So it goes over months, really.
Okay. So we will have another member here. Give me a second. So there she is. Let me move her. I need more hands. Hello, Lalena. Nice to have you here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, I will try. Hello, everybody. My name is Lena, and I'm on the tag La Lena. And not the typical esporter like you guys. I'm more a streamer, and yeah, I were invited to the stream just spontaneously because one other guest had to cancel it because some IRL issues, and so I'm really sorry. I didn't know the stream will be held in English, so I'm sorry for my terrible English, but yeah, I will try my best.
Everything is fine. So, yeah, you are variety streamer and you play a lot of games yourself. And I hope it's okay to say it now. I think you are facing some other issues, or that we already talked about, being harassed, not only for being a female streamer in gaming, but also being part of the LGBTQIA
Yeah,
uh, a, yeah, community and being trans.
yeah. Daniela in the chat wrote she can't hear me, so maybe there's some
Why, why,
issue.
why, why can't she hear you? Huh? Give me a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, I think.
Ah, okay. I think the other guests are really silent too because when I was listening to the stream, the other guests were very silent. So I was first checking if my audio's something turned down, but
No, it's a nice audience because everyone lets speaks first and then we start talking again. So,
okay, much better.
yeah,
Okay,
I had you on a very low scale. That's why
okay.
they couldn't hear you. Yeah, so would you like to tell us a bit more about your experience in the gaming world in general?
Okay. As I said, I'm not the typical esport gamer. I'm more casual and streaming gamer, but I already play some kind of competitive racing games. Not that simulation games like others of you, more arcade racers like Wreckfest or something like this. But yeah, and yeah, I have to say sometimes there are people who have really problems if a woman or especially a trans woman in special are faster than this cis guys, a cis dude, and there are people writing bad things come to the stream and harass me or something like this. But it's very well, it's not often, so
Do you
not that
think
much.
that it's different from the casual gaming world compared to the competitive gaming world?
Well, yeah, I think it. Yeah, maybe it depends on which bubble you are playing or with which players. If you're on an open server or on a closed server, I think this is a very the main reason. And
I mean,
yeah,
I know you have been racing with Pete's Meat, and
yeah,
they are not always calm when they are racing.
yeah.
So,
But yeah, I think it really depends what kind of server it is. What I think the server host has some what's the name, some Verantwortung.
responsibility.
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 Okay, for it's his server, and so he can or she can decide what kind of speech are on the server. And yeah, I think this depends on which server and with which people you are playing, if you are on an open community or in a closed one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's talk a bit about those statistics I sent you guys. Um, did you see the link, Lena?
Mm,
Otherwise, I'm going to send it to you again.
yeah, please.
Okay. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So let's talk about the first topic. So the first one, that is the type of harassment being used in esports and in gaming in general, which for me is totally shocking to see that uh, women still got harassed like most of the times in gaming with 30, uh, 38%. Very close followed is LGBTQ with 35, and then we get over to the ethnical groups, Afro American people or people of color, Latin people, and then followed by the religion when it comes to Jewish and Muslim people. I, I always get like really frustrated when those kind of things happen because, as Artemis said before, when she started with it, she just knew that, and then I can get back like, but our parents told us different, to not be this kind of idiots and harass people and be toxic and negative. And somehow it seems like that in the gaming world, yeah, everything that we learned from kids on is already forgotten. How do you guys feel about it?
So, I mean, it does not surprise me that the rates are so high, because I don't think it's a special esport problem at all. I think it's a problem of everyone. So also in real life, like so many percent of women get harassed in real life also when just walking down the street. Same with LGBTQI plus, and also from being a different ethnicity. It's like also when you're walking on the streets, you get this kind of harassment. Not so obvious sometimes. Sometimes it's more subtle, like strange looks or something like this, or inappropriate jokes. But yeah, also in esports scene, it's like more open, and that's why it's more noticed by people.
Do you think it's more noticed by the people because esport, even though it already kind of exists since 20 years, back in time with CSGO, not CSGO, Counter Strike 1.6 back in time, um, but that we are still so young and we don't have so many people in the esports world, so we notice it a bit more and faster.
Mm, I think not more and faster because there are so many people. I think it's just because like you're not um, with your real name most of the time, and that is why most people just don't care to hide what they think, and just yeah openly spread out their racism, their toxicity, and everything. And that's not really good, because yeah, like they think they are anonym and they can do it, but like it has the same effect as if someone would tell you in real life, only with the side effect that you do not know who exactly wrote it. And sometimes this even has a bit more impact because many um, groups, especially like women LGBTQI, also like to go and play games just like to escape a bit from the reality, and then there they get also harassed. And yeah, that has also a big negative impact, maybe even more than just being harassed on the street, because yeah, this is bad, but like sometimes you get used to it, and then it happens also in like your safe space online, and yeah, so it sometimes makes you feel much more worse.
How do you guys prevent this from happening in your career as coach, as manager, or even as a variety gamer in your stream? I mean, just random people can pop in at any time and those kind of things. And especially in esports, I think mentality in tryout is not it easy to track, at least not in the League of Legends scene, since the phases before the next split starts is quite short. So you really have to, yeah, either be like really good in figuring everything out mentally, Leon, how do you deal with those kind of things? How do you evaluate the mental stability of a person?
Mm, I honestly don't think there is that much you can do as a coach, just especially in the League of Legends world. Just because you said, I mean, the phases between tryouts are very, very close. It's just like a few weeks or like 6 weeks to 8 weeks or something like that. So you don't even have the time to get to know the people that much deep, I would say. Um, but it's definitely something that me personally I like to look into mentality and into the way how people approach working with each other and these kind of things, and evaluate that more than just the elo and what I see in the game, because for me as well, just like Wolf said, it's just way more important, right?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna have a check up on every single person who's gonna try out for a team I'm managing or I'm coaching. And if I see something wrong, then I'm gonna approach this person and I'm gonna ask this person why he or she did that, or what he or she did, right?
Hmm.
And then we need to find a way on how to figure that out. But if it happens like 2 or 3 times, then I'm just gonna have to kick that person off tryouts.
Hmm.
And then of course there are like connections, and I can ask people what their experience with a certain player or coach or manager have been before. And then if these people have like a negative record or something like that, um, yeah, it's kind of difficult. I mean, I would still try and let them do a tryout or something if I think that's fine, like, but I think I would still recognize quite early if the person is like toxic or something like that. And a few weeks down tryouts, I mean, people can't hide their personal stuff and their personality and their character forever. So at one point, you will see if the person is like toxic or stuff like that.
How do you deal with those kind of things, Wolf, when it's happening, or how do you realize that this person is mentally maybe not the best fit for the team or the org?
Yeah, as Leon said, it's pretty similar. I mean, over time you get a feel for it. Sometimes you get a feel for it right away, both ways, the positive and the negative. So you get a certain vibe, and just trying to, you know, then depending on what vibe you get, just maybe watch a little closer how it's going, and trying to especially be there in a situation where there is pressure in the team, like in a 24-hour race, and just see how does this person act under pressure. And that's exactly the point. I mean, you can try and hide and try to mask things, but once it goes a bit wild, like an accident in a race, and then you have to go in to repair the accident, and then you have to figure out how do I now uh, alter all the pit stops, all the plans go out the window, and you have to get down and do calculations. How do people act then? And then um, since I'm also the oldest guy, basically the old guy on top. I always want, and I tell that everybody, if you screw up, let me know.
Hmm.
We can fix things as long as you let me know. And I've had it. I had people call me on a Sunday, right? Like, I have to tell you something. And then it's almost a little bit like the kids coming to daddy, like, Dad, I really did something wrong. And then and then we can talk about it, and then I can just trying to understand the reasons maybe behind it, or what was the situation, or and that's fine. But if I have things that I just find out through other channels, then of course I will reach out and also try and understand. But then, just as Leon said, if it's 2 or 3 times that more severe stuff happens, I will bring down the hammer for sure.
Okay. Let's imagine this goes to Leon and Wolf. Let's imagine so you did some research about the person in the tryout, and people tell you, okay, there has been negative behavior, and what would be something that you guys would consider as okay, we could give him a chance still, and maybe work on that, especially if you come from the mental coaching area, and you maybe have a plan to fix that. And what would be a complete no go? Also, maybe the statistics in mind.
Mm, I mean, for the no goes, it's I think quite easier to answer, because like things like threatening or sexual harassment is just a no go for me. So if that person like has done that before in like the past, I don't know, six months or maybe a year, then I wouldn't even give that person a chance to try out. Um, but if this is a thing like this person has, I don't know, was mad in solo queue or something like that, flaming another player. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm kind of sorry to say that, but it is what it is, right? I mean, people are flaming in solo queue like all the time, so it's nothing like special or anything like that. And if the person is alright mentally beside that, I don't see a reason why I shouldn't give that person a chance. I mean, I would still have to talk to this person and ask, okay, what is like the problem? Why are you flaming someone else in solo queue? Um, and how does this affect your performance and your behavior and also team environment? But I don't really see a reason why not to give the person a shot. Where else, if the person is like doing sexual harassment, and then it was just would just be a straight no no for me.
I think it depends on what you write in solo queue because, for example, yeah, toxicity, right, but it's the difference between like normal banter in solo queue and literally writing things like KOS or naked or something like it.
Yep.
So it would differentiate between this one because I personally, as an org or as a team, would not like to sign someone who constantly writes in solo queue, something like this.
Yeah, but I mean stuff like the casual stuff like "Hey idiot" or something is, I don't know. This is just, I see this basically every game I play myself, and I see this weekly with my team and stuff like that. So I don't mind things like that, but of course, yeah, you're totally right. Things like KYS or I'm gonna beep 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 your mama or sister or whatever is no go to. I think. Yeah, so that's a very good point here.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's, as long as it stays on a level that is game related, like you can't race, you can't drive, you're blind, whatever, uh, get God, whatever. That is still something. If it's not totally overboard and not every single time, I'll be like, okay, I'll still talk to the person. I say, come on, you have a short fuse, calm down. But as soon as it goes on a personal level,
Mm.
like gender, race, religion, no. I mean, I can't tolerate that. I mean, that's another level where to me, you basically tell the world you're not at peace with yourself. If you have to go there, right? If you have to attack someone personally on that level, then something is fundamentally not right, and I will not work with a person like that.
Okay. So basically, what you mean is like kind of trash talking your enemies, like like trying to get them out of control, maybe, or out of their mind. That's okay. But as soon it comes to like really hard, let's say hardcore harassment, sexism, whatsoever,
Yeah.
it's a complete no go.
Yeah, well, a little trash talking, it's part of the competition a little bit, to if it's on a teasing level, basically, or if it is in some cases justified because stuff happened, right? And people are frustrated. All right, it happens. If they come to a point where they then get a grip on themselves again, say, okay, crap, let's go on, let's continue. It's okay, but not going, to these topics that we're talking about, race, gender, faith. That's just not, no, not possible.
Let's move on then to the second part. No, not in the forum because I don't have enough space on the screen. I will add that later on so we can talk a bit like what kind of games and if we might see maybe something like a correlation in the game type. But let's talk about being toxic ourselves. Have you experienced yourself at some point in game? Hopefully not on cast. That would be kind of weird. But that you were like, yeah, nice, nice feeling. I know. That you experienced yourself, that you caught yourself actually doing it. I have to admit, um, sometimes I'm questioning myself. Like, did you really need to do that now? Like reacting on someone's rant, for example, even though I should know it better. How
Mm.
about you guys?
So I think um, I was toxic a few years ago, but not so bad. I occasionally wrote something like, "Yeah, stop playing if you can't or if you don't want," or something like this. But I like forced myself to rethink everything before I write now, because I realized, yeah, it's not good. And when I was this kind of toxic, I also was um, playing with the wrong group or with the wrong friend group, I would say, because everyone there was toxic and sometimes way more toxic than I was. And yeah, then when I left the group, it kind of changed. Also, it changed how I looked into toxicity at all because before that I was like, yeah, okay, so it's like banter and no one cares at all. But afterwards, I realized, yeah, people do care, and even though it's just a hey, why can't you play properly, something like this, and I realized that's nothing I want to bring into games anymore. So yeah, I can safely say that since the last around 4 years I haven't been toxic at all. I know some people don't believe, but yeah, I just don't write in the chat if I feel like getting toxic or slightly annoyed by anything, so then I just turn the chat off.
Nice. How about the rest of you guys?
I mean, for me, I was definitely a very toxic person a couple of years before. Even have like I think one or even two permanent accounts in League of Legends, um, and one of them is just by using 2 times the word US. So yeah, I'm not proud of that for sure. It's like part of my past, and I definitely learned from that. As I said, it's not okay. It's just a no go to do something like that. Um, for me as a person, I'm someone to having a hard time with putting out emotions in real life. So League of Legends and esport is kind of like a ventile to put on the emotional things which are like going on in my life and in my head. So I'm definitely gonna say I'm a bit emotional when I do play. Uh, I'm also chatting, but nothing which is really about the frame, like just in inside of the frame, I would say. Like sometimes I tell myself I'm shit. Sometimes I tell a teammate of mine in solo queue that what this person did was just not good or something. But like I said, it's just with the regular vocabulary, which is super basic in League, which you can basically see everywhere and not outside of the frame. But I wouldn't consider myself a toxic guy or flamer or anything like that anymore. I was, but not anymore. And also being in touch with this kind of mental topics, and personal development really helped me to get calmer in the game itself, and also not playing from a routine, but really playing when I know I'm fine with, like, I'm not moody, I'm not tired, I ate something, I drank something, and these kind of things. Um, yeah, this kind of got like a habit for me to check myself up before I got into to playing solo queue or something like that, because I know it will just like lighten up my mood, and it's not just about playing when I'm basically mental foggy or something like that, but more about, hey, I want to play a game just because I want to have fun, and then I'm just gonna have fun with the game, right? And not like being just about flaming people all the time or something. Yeah.
Okay. As you know, Ovi, my frustration level is very low, and as a streamer, it's kind of my personality, and my viewers really enjoy when I'm swearing and when I'm raging. But it's more against the game or against me, and the only problem I have is to yeah, to change my wording. I In the past I often used ableist language, like idiot, dumb, or something like this. And this is some kind of wording you many people still use, and this is a point we really have to work, and at least myself. And yeah, it's for example, when I'm racing Wreckfest and I'm in the first place, and there is a guy who um, drives in the wrong direction and hits me front in the front. Of course, I'm exploding, and I say I'm swearing and say bad words, and after that I'm really sorry about. But yeah, this is some kind of toxicity I have. Yeah,
Ah,
but I
the
want to
it's
work
a business model.
I mean,
sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, you made it in some Twitch clips Germany. I think
Yeah,
with those kind
yeah,
of clips. I mean, I think for in your way, it's more that you're waging yourself
yeah,
instead of like really going against someone.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I mean, I follow you now for half a year, 7 months,
yeah,
8 months roundabout, and yeah, sometimes you are like, okay, but I can almost hear that you're biting your tongue to not to, until you really explode. So
yeah. It's the most time I'm swearing on the game, so the game
yeah,
itself. So
too.
and so I think this is okay.
How about you, Wolf? Like as an old house in gaming.
The old house. Yeah, guilt is charged. The what's what's called is when you are on a top level, it's very easy to to be snobbish and to look down on others. And that is a sort of challenge sometimes when you're in a race and you're racing with people who are not as experienced, and stuff happens, to then not go to like, hey, if you can't do iRacing, there's always Mario Kart, right? So yeah, something like that. Of course, I mean, we all started. You have to be mindful, and you have to remind yourself that you didn't start up there. You started as a noob sometimes, and there's a lot of people. I mean, sim racing is a sport where you spend countless hours of seat time developing setups and racing, and you know uh, you know practicing this one corner lap after lap after lap because you want to find that 1/10 that's missing. So you're investing so much time, and there's just a lot of people who just can't, because their life revolves about all sorts of different things. They just cannot invest 40 hours per week doing this, so they will never get to a certain level. But that's okay, and you have to remind yourself that's okay still. They have the same right to be there, to race there, and hey, something happened, but still, just be, gentle, and rather try to maybe explain and educate why that may not have been a cool thing to do right now, from your experience that you have, and don't explode and stuff like that, or well, if there's the time to explain. Sometimes I'm reaching out to people afterwards. I write them an in-game mail basically and say, hey dude, that was not a cool thing. I looked at the replay, and really what I think you should have done. And sometimes that's then going on for a few days, and we have a nice exchange, and in the end basically it's then a sort of handshake, together, and that's such a lot better to do it that way than just being toxic and to talk down.
Okay. What would you guys like to see that needs to be changed by the gaming industry itself to make it more secure for people, no matter if it's coming to sexual harassment or whatever kind of harassment, what need to be done, also in terms of regulations, or does it need to be more strict? What do you guys
Mm,
think about it?
in my opinion, there are many approaches a company could take. So the first approach I kind of liked was what Riot Games did with League of Legends, because they implemented a real-time report system with a bot that like monitors the chat, and as soon as someone posts something that's inappropriate, it immediately removes it and mutes the person. But I think it still has some flaws. For example, like words that are written slightly different, with numbers, for example, instead
Yeah.
of letters, are not covered by this one. And so I think also an approach would be that the companies kind of have the responsibility to help, for example, the growth of communities or community-like structures that enforce or encourage the players that are part of the communities to not be toxic, and also like from a very young age start to educate the newer players what right behavior in online games is. Because what I also notice is that many younger players seem to take older and more known streamers that are known for the toxicity, something like an example, and just yeah, adapt the style and yeah, start to be toxic too, and that's not good. So also companies should try to like monitor the bigger streamers, that they have some sort of responsibility, and also take actions if they do not yeah, behave according to terms of services and do not value those things.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree on that. I think Riot, for example, has implemented some stuff throughout the years which really helped. For example, also the champ select report system, or what Artemis said with the in-game chat stuff. That's really good. I think also the organizations themselves are responsible for controlling and evaluating what their players, their coaches are doing. So, for example, last year I really liked what Schalke did with basically banning their player from a tournament, and playing with a substitute instead, because that guy was like just super toxic in chat. Um, so first of all, I definitely think we need more reactions and organizations who react like that, because it's a very important thing. Uh, yeah, well, that's for sure one thing which need to be like added, and also I think that it should be more standardized to have this thing kind of like emotional coaching, mental coaching, these kind of things in also lower organizations, because I think this is still something which is kind of uncommon to especially the lower level of performance and competition, that you just don't have this range of and this number of coaches to do something like that. But especially like also game coaches should be educated in like emotion control and these kind of things. So one thing I learned the last year was that the importance of having a self emotional frame, meaning that whatever happens, like you can be completely down, and then you just go away from the PC and you give yourself just the room to leave out all your emotions. And it doesn't really matter which way as long as you, right? So, for example, if I would play solo queue today and I would end up just losing all my LP for like a couple of hours, I would just go, and then till like tomorrow, I can be all moody, grumpy, tilted, whatever. And then tomorrow when I wake up, I'm not allowed to be toxic or emotional anymore. But in the time I am. So it gives me the space to basically put out everything I'm feeling, and yeah, and then be fine again. So this is really something which is helping me and also my students, I would say, with controlling their emotions better. And I think it need more stuff like this in the esport world and the gamer world as well. Yeah, and then like one thing I can add too is, for example, my frustration in game doesn't really come from like just losing or anything like that. It comes from the point of people seem to don't really wanting to play the game once they realize it's going bad for them. Like they died a couple of times quite early in the game or something like that. Things are just going wrong, and then it's basically we're 10 minutes in the game. It looks like we're gonna lose, and it's just yeah, let's go, right? This is also something which got kind of more popular, I think, in the past years, and this is really not helping at all. It's kind of again a bad influence on people, and yeah, I don't know. It's not like you're having any kind of punishment in that you can just FF15, FF20, and then just go to the next game and nothing happens, and you haven't learned anything from that, whether in game not nor out game, right?
Yeah.
And also not working together as a team to find a solution. People are not used to being creative and um, trying their hardest to find a solution. Also in the competitive scene, I've realized that many teams and organizations, if once like split out of the 3 of the year or 2 of the year doesn't work out, they just go with the next player and the next team, and they break their team down and they build it up again instead of giving it the time of day and just trying it with like 6 months or 9 months. I mean, yeah, esport is a fast paced scene, but sometimes you just need to rethink that and just give it some more space and some more time. And organizations are often not doing that, in my experience.
Yeah, can agree on that. Lena, Wolf, anything to add?
I can maybe a completely other point is how to represent minorities in games itself, like what the female characters wear, or are there some people of color or black or trans or gay characters in the games. It's for game, of course, more for RPG games or for MMOBAs or something like this. I think this could also be could change something in the mindset of some people. I don't know. Maybe this could be another point where the game industry can do something.
What I would like to see more is that there's a closer relationship between the game makers basically and the major organizations and groups and clans, teams that are on the game, because uh, there's a lot of teams out there that are basically pushing and carrying a game, and they stream a lot, and they're in tournaments, and they're good. And I think that if you have toxicity from players, that basically the organization should reach out to a team manager at a certain point and say, dude, you know, um, you guys are about to build some reputation for yourselves and not in a positive way.
Mm.
We have to talk, and you have to talk to your guys. So just to raise awareness on the one hand, but also to show consequences. Like if you don't get a grip on that, I don't know if we can have you in the next tournament. Very sorry. Maybe you cannot be part of it. And there's so much prestige going with major tournaments that that is just if you come from an angle like this and are able to you're able to put pressure on an org out there and say, you really have to work on that. And if you don't have the resources yet, maybe even you know gaming programming companies can then show resources they can use. Maybe they can be like a more standardized set of rules they can pass out, and how do we enforce that in an organization, stuff like this. So because maybe not everybody is really seeing the need yet for mental coaching or so, although it is super important, and that also being part of it. So I would like to see that relation a little stronger. And naturally, that's also an investment, and it's going to cost money. But I think that is money well spent, because the percentage of time that young people spend online and spend in a gaming community is ever increasing. I mean, we're seeing it boom for years now. And I think we also have to, or we as the manager part, we also are slowly but surely taking over part of a responsibility that in times parents used to have. Basically, we're not only there to supervise gaming, but we're also there to educate you know young people or other people and say, dude, you know I've watched you, you know let's talk. Right? And then
Yep.
you're trying to be the basically the daddy, and or the mom, and bring in your experience, and you have to just establish good communications, and you bear a responsibility.
If you if you could address something to our authority in Germany to make gaming more accessible for everyone, make it more equal, and also more secure by education and stuff like that. Because I think, especially when it comes to mental coaching or also game coaching, a lot of coaches are doing that for nothing because the organization simply doesn't have the money, to pay for anything. So if you could address something like that, what would it be?
Like, I think the most important step that should be done first is that esports is kind of recognized as not necessarily a sport if it's not possible, but I don't not quite understand why esports shouldn't be considered a sport when some stuff like schach and darts are like chess. Chess, sorry,
Just
like
okay.
chess and darts are considered a sport with the idea, yeah, because they have movement, but esports also do have movement. For example, especially sim racing, like it's more a sport than uh, some other things that are considered a sport from my point of view. But I think the first step to help with this would be to establish like this things like the sport has. So yeah, reliable system of like groups or communities with also financial background that can have mental coaches to support everything, and also like some awareness in the politics through some kind of yeah, organization that's on top of it all. Like the USB is for German sports at the moment, to represent it and to like yeah, help to get rules that are yeah, apply for at least the, how you call, not country, not the country, but the Bundesland, um,
State.
yeah, the state, and so that it's like the same for everyone, and the safe platform also for newcomers to grow into, not being reliant on like some shady group or community that was established 2 days ago and no one really knows who is the leader of the community, and maybe yeah, being the one stepping into a toxic environment because you do not have any other opportunities that came up in time.
Okay. Leon, what would be your approach on it?
Mm, that's a good question. Um, Honestly, I don't really have much of an answer to that one. I just would agree on what Artemis said before. Um,
Would there be something that you would like to address, for example, to Premier League?
yeah, I think that would totally make sense. Yeah.
Name it. Just spit it out.
Um, Sorry guys, my brain is just foggy right now.
That's fine. Don't worry. We are not going to be toxic about that.
It's Sunday.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Sunday. Wolf, if you could address something, either be it the authority or maybe the organizer of the racing leagues.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's about money. I mean, if you're a small org or fresh org, then that's always a problem. You know, people are basically paying stuff out of their own pocket, and you know, the stuff that you can afford is limited. And it basically you have to tap into your own resources inside your team, and sometimes certain you don't have certain abilities in your team yet, or certain structures, or you're fairly new. And I think that there should be more, yeah, external help. I mean, in motorsport in Germany, it would be pretty easy. And the good thing is that since 2020, virtual motorsport is recognized as a motorsport by the DMSB, so a German Motorsport Federation. So it is officially a motorsport, and therefore you could tap into resources like ADAC, which is like the major German motorsport club. It's and they are also doing tournaments and races and everything. So I think, yeah, that goes along the lines of what Artemis said. I mean, there has to be a certain, you know, kind of a more professional network in the background of the major organizations that are responsible for sports in Germany, and naturally, I think that esports and gaming it should be recognized as a sport, because as soon as you get on a certain level, the needs, the time invested, the organization that you need, and the resources, that is all. There's not a huge difference between your guys in athletics and your guys in gaming and esports. So it is a sport for real, and but I think that the decision makers and the people who basically then decide on, yeah, is there going to be funds for this, or is there going to be structures for this? They're usually relatively old, and also not as involved in sports anymore. I mean, they're on a functional level. They
Mhm.
may have been, athletes like 30 years ago, but now they have been in politics for a long time, and
Yeah.
Mm.
that's what we're
Yes.
dealing with. It's politics, right? So to really make them understand that that is beneficial and that it's needed is going to be a long and repeating process. But I think we do need that. We need the support uh, of the greater structures. Everybody should have the chance to get to resources, at least information.
Mhm.
And then, of course, along the way, over the years, how you build up an org. I mean, there may be then even opportunities to raise money somewhere, sponsoring or not, So yeah, but I think there should definitely be out help to get on this way.
Lena. Lena? How about you?
Nothing to add. I think,
Nothing to add.
yeah.
Okay.
No, I think it was very, yeah, good explanation.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But I think like the biggest problem, what Wolf already said, is to get them to recognize it as a sport.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and I think also then it's some sort of responsibility of the communities existing right now to come together and establish something on their own. And also because money is such a problem, we should try as a community for esports, as long as we are not recognized as a real sport, to find sponsors also for the smaller communities and for the smaller groups, because then we can like do so much more, and it should be like more going into the heads of the bigger companies that also not the high professional esport like in League of Legends, LEC or Worlds is worth for sponsoring, but also like the communities with up to 500, 600 members are worth sponsoring because they are more closer to the actual playing community than
Yeah.
the professional esports is, because professional esports is just like something you watch in the TV, for example, like you watch a football game,
Mm.
and the community sports is there where actually the connection with the people happens, and where you can also have more reach to the crowd.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, there is a party in Germany that tries to get esports as a sport, but sadly, this is a complete wrong party to vote, which is the AFD, and that's something like why all why like like out of all these parties out there, why does it need to be that one that is trying to get
Yeah.
for us? But I think they're just taking what is yeah, like a key or is something that a lot of people wants to have right now, and just to gain numbers. That's my thing. I would say let's go through the chat, and guys in the chat, if you have questions for our people, write it down in the chat, and maybe tell us as well who the question is for, so it's easier to address. Let's see if there's questions coming up.
Mm.
In the
Until
meanwhile,
then,
yeah,
we can go to question 5 about ESL.
about ESL. Oh yeah, like this is something exactly like the thing, the problem that I was facing. Just like I asked Prime League, hey, look, we are building something up, and we would need to know like when we need to sign contracts, what kind of what are the contracts about, is there money involved, these kind of things. Did I get an answer? No, of course not. Do you think that those like license holders for those competitive leagues needs to be more transparent as well for organizations, so they're aware of what they have to do in order to be a pro player, a pro organization at some point.
So from my point of view, definitely. Like as far as I know, ESL, for example, for CS:GO, doesn't have any requirements for their leagues. So like basically everyone can do whatever they want. And I think for the Prime League and from Riot Games side, for League of Legends, I don't know how it is in Valorant, but for League of Legends, it's very intransparent because you don't know what exactly you need to do or what is required for you to bring in to be allowed to play in the Prime League. Like sometimes it's written on the website, but this is not for the divisions 1 or 2. So I think they make the step from Division 3 to Division 2 kind of difficult because sometimes, like if you're an org winning in Div 3, and then you have no idea what is coming in Div 2. Like you need paid coaches or something like this, or you need to pay your team full time. And so many orgs in Div 3, for example, are still orgs that do not have like a sponsorship in the background. So they actually do not have the money and the possibilities to pay a team full time and to pay a coach full time. And if they just like get the information 3 weeks before the new split starts, it's not enough time to find a sponsorship and to actually pay your people. And yeah, that's a big problem. So it should be more open communicated what exactly are the requirements. And I think also when it's more open communicated, it's for the possible sponsors more easy to find access to the teams, because I think many sponsors are afraid to engage into sponsoring smaller teams because they fear that the reach is not good enough, or that they are just like not allowed to, or something like this. And if there is some like guideline for everyone to just follow, then it would be way better.
Yeah, I just agree on that. It's a very intransparent process and thing to have. And I mean, I don't know what this is about in like the French scene or Spanish scene or in other video games, but in Prime League, I think it's basically never really for 100% sure what you need to do as an organization to compete in
Yep.
Prime League Division 2 or Prime League Division 1. Whether in Prime League Division 3 or even lower tier, it basically doesn't really matter. So you can just do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So
Or
for example, my
especially how to get like slots that are in high position. It's so intransparent because officially you're not allowed to buy slots, but under the hand, like every second org does buy a slot from another org. And it's like some kind of illegal from the Prime League's point of view, but like everyone knows that in the background there's money going from one hand to another when slots change. And this is also like a big thing, because I think also in when the bigger slots change the orgs, there must be going something on the background, because why should a Div 2 org just give up their slot and give it for free to someone else? And it's very intransparent communicated what exactly is going on there.
Yeah, well, from my experience, it's very much the same. ESL is all about big money, and as soon as big money comes in, things become cloudy and not very clear. And then you have, of course, in our case, you have major players from the industry in the background, like Porsche, Mercedes, BMW, Williams. So real race teams with you know vast amounts of money. They are also putting into esport in the meantime. So we're talking about budgets that are well in the high six to low seven figures. And they have just possibilities to push certain things they want to push. And of course, ESL wants to make a profit, that's for sure. So uh, it's basically a given that these companies with vast possibilities have their team in Prime League. That's just normal. I mean, ESL started the R1 league recently. That's on uh, a simulation that is still in the process of being finished. It's called Rennsport. It's a German simulation, or a virtual motorsport simulation. And of course, only the big names were, called upon, like the 12 teams that are allowed now to compete in this and officially are competing. That's only the old big names, basically. And then, of course, they also reached out and they involved some of the bigger um, esport clans that have been out there in other sports to join, like FaZe, for example, or Mouse. And then these guys just up sim racing teams within a matter of weeks. They recruited drivers, and there's money involved for sure. So that is we're getting very, very much into the area of big money and politics there, and that is when nobody will openly communicate what's going on. I personally, with the teams that I have, and I said before that our ACC teams is world class. I've been reaching out to ESL. I've been reaching out to Rensport, and I said, okay, guys, I realize that Prime League basically is now taken. If you're going to open a second league, we would super wish to be part of that. And as you said before, do they even answer me? No. It's like, oh, who's writing? Oh, Get Closer Racing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Heard of them. Yeah, yeah. They're fast. Yeah, they're good drivers. Yeah, but since we're not, the super big name in the scene,
Yeah.
they don't even write back.
I mean,
So
okay, that I would actually appreciate if they don't write back, but if they can't tell me like, yeah, we can talk about that once you reach Div 2. And I was like, yeah, okay, but then it's too late. I mean,
yeah,
I need to
like
Like
that's
prepare,
it's easy to reach because then you do not have the money to pay.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like you reach the league and they tell you, yeah, now you have to pay every one of your players, and you have like 5 players and one coach, and you have to pay them full time for a month. And you just can't if you're an org without sponsoring, and then you need to find in like sponsoring in like 2 weeks, and it's impossible. Like
yeah,
who's gonna sponsor you when you write them, hey, we need your money now, and it's like 6,000 a month, and please and thank you, and
yeah.
nobody will.
Yeah. So it's super difficult, to get a handle on this, and basically you are at the mercy of these organizations to give you a call or not,
Yeah.
and then you can see, can I make it happen in the time that I have? Like they will give you like a deadline. We need to know until the 15th if you can do it or not. You're like, okay, cool. Yeah. So it's really, really hard for smaller orgs to get into this area, even if the level you play on or you race on is right there and you are competitive. If you do not have this history and you don't have the big name, if you don't have the big money cloud around you, it is super difficult.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that, and I think we all wish to have more transparency on that, and we just can fight and continue fighting for some more legal stuff behind it. Like in Korea, for example, they have a very long law list what to do in esports, even for amateur teams and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, we should go there at some point. And but yeah, it's Germany, it's digital, so maybe in 20, 30 years. I don't know. I'm not sure about, but
Dude, in 30 years I will be 80 years old.
um, you,
Long beard, right?
as I always say, you're only as old as you feel.
That's right.
Sometimes I'm 80, sometimes I'm 8. Depends.
But I personally would see you like an 80-year-old grandpa playing some racing with your grandchildren
Oh
and
yeah. Oh yeah.
beating them.
Oh
But to be honest, I mean, I remember
yeah.
that there was a documentary from Sat.1 back in time.
You mean the gaming grandmas?
Yes, in
Mm,
CS:GO, and they were like with their three grandsons. They showed her the game, and they started actually competing as a senior, like senior team, and they beat like one of the best teams, like top five or something, and everyone was so proud of them. So
mm.
it's not impossible.
No.
We are not there yet that we have those kind of older leagues. Yeah, so since there was no question from the chat at all, I think we've answered most likely everything then. I want to thank every one of you being part of it, especially Lena jumping in like, I'm in, bitch.
Yeah, I don't know everything about esports. Only I read some newspapers or online prints about, and yeah, and I didn't even know it is in English. So I'm not normally broadcasting in German, so it's really hard for me. Understanding is okay, but speaking is a really challenge for me.
You did amazing. You did amazing.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, thanks a lot for bringing the time, taking the time to talk with me, and yeah, I hope that we maybe can work on something else together again, maybe some other topics or something like that. Let's see what the future brings, and GG, well played, I would say. I'm going to
Thank you.
wait. What was the name again? Lena, can you please help me here?
Yeah, I copied it to your Discord.
Oh yeah, it's Wheel Nico Anime Girl. She
Yeah.
is part of Wir for Queer, which is a community built by Shurioka to educate influencers in the queer community, in queer situations and stuff like that. And yeah, let's share some love. She's currently playing Genshin Impact. And yeah, have an amazing Sunday. Thank you for being here, for all the support, for the subs, for the follows. And bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Have
Have
a
a good
great
Sunday.
weekend.
Okay.
Ey, du musst mir sagen, dass der Englisch-Stream, also dass es ein Englisch-Stream ist. Ich war total geschockt. Ich dachte so, hey, was ist los hier? Und dann nur noch
Voll
E-Sports,
gemein.
worauf ich. Also. Ja, wie gesagt, ja, normalerweise ist Sonntag mein streamfreier Tag, wo ich halt so gemütlich bin und das ging so schnell und da habe ich dann einfach gesagt, ja, ich lasse dich jetzt mal nicht hängen und das Thema interessiert mich ja auch, jetzt mal unabhängig vom E-Sport, aber ja, war auf jeden Fall cool, euch kennenzulernen.
Ja,
Ja.
Fand ich
ja,
auch.
war
Ja.
echt ein cooles Talk, cooler Talk. Hat Spaß gemacht. Also ich wäre auch, also wenn wir sowas nochmal machen sollten, nochmal planen sollten, ich wäre auf jeden Fall gerne dabei, gar keine Frage. Und ich bin gespannt, was dann bei einem potenziell nächsten Mal an ja, Themen, sage ich mal, bei rumkommt.
Mhm. Also ich weiß, wenn du nachher noch 5 Minuten Zeit hättest, genau, weil ein Kumpel und ich hatten nämlich vor, tatsächlich einen Podcast zu machen für Spotify über Gaming. Und wir das gerne mit 3 Personen machen würden, die als festes Team drin sind und dann halt immer wieder mit Gästen.
Cool.
Mega cool.
Ja,
Er hat geknirscht, aber er muss da durch.
Ah, waren ja nur 1,5 Stunden.
ciao.
Wird ja
Ja,
schon
das
schaffen.
war gut. Alles gut.
Tschüss.
Tschüss.
Ciao,
Macht's
mach's
gut.
gut.